read the introduction and get started on this. So there was one possible alternative solution that I had thought is that we track if the volume is changed in last 1 or 2 seconds. So we can give a buffer of say 2 seconds. So we'll monitor if volume is changed or not in that 2 seconds, and if it is not changed in last 2 seconds, then we take the value. So while changing, it will not generate the statement. It will generate the statement a couple of seconds later.
Gotcha. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi, John. Yeah, so
just getting started.
Yeah, so we were discussing on the volume change issue that we had, John. The problem was that whenever we move the slider, it sends many statements every second because it sends the volume change event when the slider is moving. So Jason had posted the issue on Video.js forum, but we didn't get any response from there. One possible solution that I had suggested is that we could wait for a couple of seconds, and if any event is generated within that time, we just wait for another 2 seconds, let's say. So till no event is generated in last 2 seconds, it will wait and then send the volume change event statement. So this should solve the problem in most scenarios.
And you prefer that over doing the touch events that Jason suggested?
We can try, but I believe this will not work.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of another option besides those off the top of my head.
So we can try. If we just do a simple console log event, console log message on the, sorry, console log will not work. So we'll need to use touch event and send the statement on that.
Jason, do you know if mouse events get sent to the touch event, or if you have to do both?
I don't know. I think you have to create some kind of event listener. I don't know. I did ask. No one replied. I don't know if the touch is separate. I haven't looked at it in a while. I have to go back.
Okay.
Touch event might be the standard touch event, I guess. And we might need to look for both. I don't know. This event here, it is not talking about volume, so it should be standard touch event that is generated, I think, based on maybe HTML5 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. If that's what we think is the best alternative for now, is to wait and see if audio is still changing. I mean, I would imagine it's going to be an outlier that people will be scrubbing the audio for longer than a couple seconds. I can't imagine that happens very often, but and even then, I don't think we would care. It really has very little to do with learning. What we just want to know is pretty much where they were and where they changed to. It's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, if we do the 2-second thing, it'll not record even if a person keeps changing the slider for, let's say, 10 seconds, because it'll keep waiting till the last 2 seconds he has been static on a specific place. So
Yeah.
if he moves it and stops at a specific place without releasing, only in that condition more than one statement will be sent.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the mouse and touch events sound cleaner, but at least programmatically, but we may get the more accurate data for what we're actually looking for by doing the wait. So either way, really, for me.
Yeah, for the touch event, we'll have to try and see how it works, because this is not directly for volume, so we'll have to figure out uh, combining both both things. And if it doesn't relate to the mouse event, then we'll have to deal with both mouse events and touch events separately.
Mm-hmm.
So might get a little complicated. We can try.
All right. Did you guys go through the other 2 tickets or issues that are open before this one already?
Uh, I think this month we haven't made any progress.
Yeah.
So let's see what else is remaining. So closed captions. Oh, Jason, were you able to decide anything on this one?
What's that one? Closed caption?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Yeah, it seems to be working pretty good from my testing. The only thing I noticed is that as soon as the video is initialized, a closed caption interacted statement sent.
Yeah.
Even though I guess that's fine, but this, the user didn't click anything. It's just saying what it's set to, I guess, right?
Yeah. So
I don't know if that's, you know what I'm talking about there, Pankaj. I don't know if you noticed that when you were testing it.
currently it sends statements as soon as the video is loaded, I guess.
Yeah, as soon as you hit the play button, it sends
Yeah.
initialized.
Yeah.
And it doesn't send a played statement. It sends a interacted statement and says interacted CC subtitle change or equals true.
Okay, let me check.
Hold on, I can. I've got my screen open too. If you want me to, share my screen? You have it
I'll
open too.
I'll check.
Yeah, look at the console there. Should give you the messages.
So it is saying initialize sent, played sent, and then interacted sent for CC subtitle change.
Oh,
Let's see these statements.
I'm not seeing that on mine.
So it sent initialized statement, and then played, and then interacted.
I wonder if this is because I'm trying to run it locally using like HTTP server.
I
Are you
think
running that?
that should not. I think that should not matter. It mine is also on my local,
Okay.
so that should not matter. I believe.
Let me share my screen real quick. I'll show you what I'm seeing. So I get the initialized statement, then played. Okay, yeah, there's played, and then CC subtitle true. I see a lot of posts in here too. Is there 401 unauthorized. I don't know what it's.
Yeah, so your basic auth, I guess, auth credentials are probably invalid.
Gotcha.
Maybe there is some time limit that passed on, or someone
Gotcha.
removed the auth tokens.
So this interacted statement that's being sent, though, is there a way to not send that unless they click one of these things? Because they didn't enable closed captions. I guess the video enabled closed captions.
Yeah, so the code is doing that. So if we remove that code, it'll stop sending the closed caption. So this, let me see. Yeah, this part of the code. Can you see?
Oh, yeah, hold on. Let me stop sharing and go back over to here. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, this part of the code is when you see this track.mode equal to showing, it changes the track mode value, and that means it selects the closed caption, and that generates the event.
Gotcha.
So if we remove this part, it will not, by default, it will not select any closed captions, and it will not send the statement. So currently it is enabling both closed caption and subtitles, which is also wrong, because generally it will be only one. In fact, practically it will only be one of them.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, so should we remove that part?
It'll still allow the caption interactions to track. It just won't send it initially if we remove that part.
Yeah,
Closed
so
caption.
I'll show you what will happen. I hope so. Let me just a second. So so now I have disabled that part, and it is generating the initialize statement and then played statement, and then paused. And closed caption is saying captions is off, and now I can change to any of these.
Oh yeah. I think that I like that better. Leave it off by default. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the LRS also you can see that it generated the initialize statement first, and now because closed caption is off, that part is not in the initialize statement. Earlier it was there, so CC enabled was there and CC subtitle language was there.
Oh, cool.
Now it is not there, and there is no interacted statement. There is only played and then paused.
Yeah, thanks for sending the login to your LRS too. I haven't had a chance to get in there yet and look at it, but thanks for sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, I actually missed that until just now. I just logged into it. So very nice.
Yeah, does
Something
the
around it.
were you able to do anything with the heat map based on your updates, Pankaj? Or
On the LRS, you'll be able to see these heat maps. Currently, this one is on my local, so the access that I shared will not have this data. You'll have to send the data, or if you want, I can send the data to that LRS. And there might be some data I might have sent. So
There's a couple of statements that you can look at.
so you'll be able to see this heat map that you are able to see here right now.
okay, great.
Is there anything else you'd want to do?
No, I mean that's great. I don't know if you guys want to try to promote this some and like maybe do an article for Guild Magazine. But Anthony mentioned about that at the ADL iFest event back in August. He's like, I want to do an article with you guys. And I was like, cool, well, we've got this demo almost done. It would be really helpful. It'd help promote the work we've done around profiles too.
Mhm.
And you guys have been working hard on this for this group for 2 years. I think it's good to have something workable out there that people could use.
Yeah.
I was thinking about sending in a poster presentation to LAC. I think today is the last day though. So.
Oh yeah. Oh really?
Yeah, I hope today's the last day if we're gonna do it. It's only 2 pages, so it's not really long for a poster session. But
where is LAC this year? It's in Sydney, Australia, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's not a far flight for not as far for you, huh?
No, yeah, it's actually quite convenient for me, comparatively at least. Let me double check the submission deadline. If it's today, I could try to slash something together real quick. If you guys are interested, I wasn't exactly sure it met the requirements, but could shoot it in anyways and just see what happens.
Yeah, that would be great.
I went to that conference last year. It's very academic, I would say.
It is. Yeah.
There's not a lot of technical stuff there or xAPI stuff there. It's just like graduate students writing papers about statistics.
There's a lot of that. The one before that, the one in Scotland had, and I think the one before that too had a whole session on xAPI in the caliper.
Because everyone's
yeah,
going on out there. And I went to we had like a boot camp or a hackathon, and that was cool. But the rest of the conference was just like not cool.
Yeah,
it was not cool. It was very boring. It was very boring.
It is very academic.
Yeah,
academic jokes and academic discussions. So.
Yeah. I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's,
But would you guys be interested in that, Pankaj? Like maybe work with Anthony, a little article could help you guys promote the demo, and you've got an LRS to show it in. I think that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had some email chat, I guess, but we didn't get back anything from him. I don't know where he is.
I think Anthony has a sort of running set of blog posts on, or posts of some kind, I don't know what the site is, on data collection, including video stuff. So I don't know if he's already started or if this is an addendum to that.
I'll send him an email and copy you guys, see what's up.
Yep.
So yeah, the captioning's good. I'm gonna close that issue. I think that's great, Pankaj.
Yep.
Volume change we'll get eventually here. I don't think that's like a deal breaker. I think people can still use the demo and the profile file, but we can eventually get that better yet. Not send so many statements. What was the other big thing? Complete segments or completion you mentioned earlier. So isn't that working though, or I thought you?
Yeah. So in this, most of the stuff is working, as you can see already. What I haven't yet done, it is not a big deal. I can finish it very quickly. It is the completed statement to be sent when the progress is 100%. So currently what is happening is it will send the statement when you reach the end of the video. So let's say if this is the current status, when the user reaches the end of the video, completion is being sent. But what should happen is after reaching the end, the user should come back and finish this remaining part at least. So the completion should be sent when he reaches somewhere here after completion, or maybe finishing this part first and then finishing the remaining. Basically, it should send completion when all of this is green. So that part is what is remaining.
Gotcha.
So the thing is that we either need to keep checking for completion every time update, which I think happens several times a second, or need to do some intelligent way to do it less frequent. So I think I can figure it out. What else? Video profile. So, where did we finish on this? Do you know? Did we decide to stay with current verbs or?
Yeah. Let's just leave it as is. I think initialized and terminated is fine.
Yeah.
I was feeling like we should change it, but I think it would just end up getting into a back and forth just into a circle. Let's just leave it.
Yeah.
All right.
And practically, I don't think it'll matter much because most of the people will look at the reports rather than looking at the activity streams, and
Yeah.
should be not resuming.
Oh, resuming.
Yes,
Is
this
that
is already done and
working?
working. Yep.
Yeah. Can you demo that? I wasn't sure. Is it kind of like a suspending where you left off? Oh, let's. Okay. So if you
Yeah. So,
pause
for
it.
example, right now we are at. I'll pause it at say 8 seconds. Okay, and
Mhm.
then I'll copy this URL. I'll close this. I'll open it in new tab. I'll play this. So it started back from 8 seconds and continued from there.
Oh, okay, that's cool. What are you storing something in local storage?
No. So it is from. Uh, let me see. So what is happening is when I send paused, it is sending this played segment. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
when the next time I'll click on play, it'll pull this statement, the last pause statement for the same registration,
Okay.
and it gets this played segment and it knows that last time it completed it paused at 11.6 seconds, so it'll
Oh,
start
okay.
right from there.
That's cool. That makes sense. So it's just
Yeah,
reading in the last time location it was at and taking you back
yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's
So
great.
let's suppose I skip some part of it, so from 11 seconds, let's say I go to 21 and play from there and pause. So from there to 24 on the LRS, I can see that now now there is a gap from 11.6 seconds to 21.1 seconds.
Mm.
So this was not viewed, and from 21 to 24 was viewed. Now the last point was 24 seconds, so it will start back from 24 seconds. If I, let's say, refresh and play, it starts from 24 seconds. So currently it checks for where you left last.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think we can close this ticket as well, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is closed.
I think I'll move this repo over to the ADL repositories with all the other xAPI stuff too, so other people can
Mhm.
find it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Cool. Thank you.
Hmm.
So
I'll wait. Why don't I wait until Pankaj does that last update to the?
mhm.
Are you gonna do that after I call today? That last update to the closed caption and or whatever, Pankaj.
Okay. So will we be able to keep making updates after it is moved?
I think so. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna move it over
So
to the ADL So it's I get you guys more people can find it. But yeah, I'll add you guys as collaborators so you can still
Okay.
be admins and do stuff to it.
Okay.
That'll be good.
Are we
So,
gonna go back and add a ticket or another conversation piece here for Anthony's concern about, if I remember correctly from the last meeting, this was the method we were using to store all the played segments, which I think we're just calling segments now.
yeah, so in the last meeting, I think Jason might not be very clear on what happened. There was a
Yeah.
confusion regarding storing these played segments that you see here, this information, and there were several concerns that he had. One of them was that he didn't want us to pull this last statement when we click on the play button. So he was concerned that it'll take extra second or two to start the play process. I generally don't think that should be a problem, but he might have real concerns based on his own experience. So uh, what
Can
I
I,
suggested,
can I
what I
clarify that just a
suggest,
little bit too, though? So I think his
yeah,
concern was that he felt it was bad practice to require people implementing their video profile to have to do a query prior to construct a statement to then send out. So I think his concern was that it was a requirement. But I think
yeah.
as we discussed, you could just save that value locally, where there's not necessarily a defined requirement to query the value first.
It's just a
Let me.
demo, but
No,
you're right. I mean, there could be like no internet connection, so you can't be reliant on going out to pull the statements down.
no. Let me clarify. So uh, what he was concerned was about one thing that Jason said is that requiring to pull the statement, and the other concern was this extra information which will add to the LRS, add the data, extra data to the LRS. So these two things were there. So one solution that I gave to him was to change the registration ID every time you launch the video. So when you launch the video, when you change the registration ID, the played segment will be reset. So you start from zero, and you'll not be required to send the entire history of played segment, and you can send only the played segment of the current session. And because you are starting a completely new registration, it'll start from zero. The played segment will be from nothing. Um, so you don't need to pull the history in that case. So you can just make that small adjustment to the code, and you can do with it.
So part of that conversation too was, and make sure that I have this right on your perspective, Pankaj, that we didn't want to make putting the played segment data in there optional just to begin with. Like, regardless of registration IDs, just you could just choose to not put played segments in there, or segments, whatever we call it. You
No,
were against that? Is that right?
no, I was against that, and I am against that because as soon as we remove the played segments from the statements, there are several use cases which will not work.
Yeah.
So one of the main use case is that the video completion should be sent only when all the parts of the video is viewed, and if you don't save that played segment information, you cannot send that statement based on the history. The user will have to complete the video on in this specific session.
Oh, I see.
So
So that's the only way to really know they completed it is by calculating played segments.
yeah, yeah, calculating based on the past statement. So the alternative solution that Anthony proposed was that the completion statement should be generated by the LRS by calculating based on all these statements in the history of the LRS, which I think is not a very good idea to uh, leave that completion statement to be generated by the LRS and adding that extra burden on the LRS.
So that's something I haven't even heard discussed before, and maybe Jason, you can comment on that. My understanding is the profiles were pretty much always for the content provider to be generating. Was there ever a discussion about part of that profile being for the LRS to know how to look at statements and generate their own?
No.
So
it sounds complicated.
yeah. So it'll be complicated, and it'll be an extra burden on the LRS, which all the LRS will have to code in to be able to use this profile, which I don't think is a good idea just to satisfy a small problem that can be solved by changing the registration IDs. So if you just change the registration ID, the problem is solved that Anthony was mentioning. And at the end, he said that he'll be thinking about it, and he'll check if there'll be any new issues if we change the registration ID on every attempt. That is where we left.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are more technical savvy than I am, but my instinct is to still say we should allow played segments to not be captured at all, with the expectation that is if you do not have them, you cannot calculate completed as defined by watched the entire video versus got to 100% at the end of the video. But I understand your argument for keeping it. Again, you guys probably have a clear vision on it. So what I suggested to Anthony was, we have a functioning version of played segments now. Let's move forward with the profile as it's defined and working, and then for the next version of the profile, we can discuss if there's a better approach that meets more people's expectations.
My understanding is that as soon as we make it optional, the statements generated by the profile will not match between the two statements generated from two different places, and that will kill the purpose of the profile itself, because the profile effort is to make things consistent, and when we make it optional, it makes things inconsistent. So if anyone wants to leave out played segments, I don't see any reason why they would want to leave out played segments. But if they want to leave out played segments completely, they can do it and not call that it is video profile.
So that was the last meeting. So there's not, it doesn't seem like there's really too much left for us to do. So I agree with Jason that we should try to get the information out, people start using it and giving us feedback and figuring out.
And I think we can discuss these things after few people are using the profile, so we'll know the real problems instead of discussing and arguing over the same thing.
Yep, I totally agree.
I gotta go. I gotta go sleep with the son. I think he's been crying for a while, and I'm gonna go help out my grandparents. His grandparents.
Oh.
No
so I'll try to jump back on, see if you guys are still on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Pankaj, if you have a second, I was going to what are we done on the issues or?
I think so. Let's just finish this off.
I'll wait till later. I got something later. Just keep on going.
If you have anything, you can continue, and we can get to issues after that.
Okay, so you want me to go ahead. I've tried to capture so we published all the profiles out on the ADL repository too. They're this here's the video one. They're in this repository ADLnet/xAPI profiles. And what happens is this JSON LD document gets imported into the into this ADL kind of profile server I set up. It said xapi.vocab.pub. Needs some work on the interface and so forth, but as you can see, I can browse in here and I can go to the video profile, and it's got this is old. I took the started thing out of here, but it's got all the verbs and everything we've defined for that profile. It's also got also has the templates that we've defined. So I was going to ask you, I probably need to go back in and update these templates. And this JSON LD document, let's see. Let me increase my screen size a little bit. The first template is a general rule that says all statements should have an ID, a timestamp, and the session ID.
Yep.
Okay, and then there's another template for started that uses the initialize. I'm calling it started in the template, but it's initialized. We're not changing the verb name. The verb is initialized. I probably need to go back and update this because this was before you changes that you had. I think you're still doing this anyway with initialized statement, but I need to go back and look at your updates to make sure this matches up right. But if there's anything here that's glowing, let me know. I'm sending those extensions. Those are required when initialized is sent. Here's another
I think
template.
we might have changed few IDs.
A few of these? Okay. I'll go back down and look at your updates, try to match it up. So some of these aren't in here.
And we'll need to add, I think, the length. That is another issue that we had.
Oh, length. That's right. I forgot about that. Played is another template, and it just says that extension time has to be sent, and played segments has to be sent. There's also paused, which has time, played segments, progress, and there's seeked, which has time to and time from. There's completed, which is progress time. And then there's volume change, which sends an interacted statement. Probably need to update that as well. So you've got some updates here. Screen change. And then these are the patterns which allow you to determine the sequence of the templates. So we know that started should always, or actually, the started template should always be used first. And then whatever middle statements in between. So it could be any combination of these middle ones, which would be paused, or any of those verbs in templates I showed earlier. Did I see that did you say earlier you added the registration ID to any of those? Because I probably need to go back and add that to in here.
Registration is a standard, is part of the xAPI statement, so it is not specific to video profile, but registration can be used in the video profile, and it adds some value.
Okay, yeah, so I need to add it to those templates.
Yeah, so registration, you can call it recommended maybe if you want.
Okay.
Or it's actually not required, but it can be recommended. And you'd probably want to add session ID in all these statements.
Gotcha. Session ID. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
yeah, I think that's with the general template that I showed earlier that requires all of them to have session ID. So the idea next too is the profile spec. We've got this the video profile that uses the profile spec And I think they're working on possibly building like statement validator, so you could really show maybe conformance that someone's building statements according to the rules of a profile. But anyway, I just wanted to show that to you.
That'd be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah. So we can validate both ways.
Yeah,
we can
exactly.
we can validate the validator with the statements we are generating, and we can validate our statements with the validator.
Right. Okay, sorry to hijack your agenda.
Yeah,
I just wanted to mention, so I'll go back and make sure that I kind of want to get that updated too before we start promoting this demo real widely.
We might have also changed some of the extensions after you generated that document, so you might need to check that.
Okay, I'll go check it.
We might also need to check the vocabulary list that you had generated.
Just for anybody new here, since I see some people I haven't either seen before, I haven't seen in a while, we are just, or at least we were, I just jumped back on, but we were going through the functionality of the demo for the video profile that Jason and Pankaj and I have been working on, mostly them, but that we've been working on. So that's where we are now. So if we have new people here who are interested in participating, I would say at least one good way to do that would be to start attempting to use the demo and help us identify bugs or potential improvements, and give it a go. Would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we want to, I guess, share that link in the chat or something? I think most people might have it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Should probably share it anyways. And just so people know, who are new, again, if anybody doesn't know this already, we ended up deciding to extend video.js for the data collection. Can't remember why anymore, versus a few other options we looked at. But this one is an open source tool, so it's an option. I think we had discussed a few other ones too, JW Player and at least one other one, Media Element, I think it was. But we went with this one. But most of those tools have the ability to collect everything we have in the profile, except for maybe our definition of complete, which I think, as far as I know, this is the only tool that does that. And to expand on that, most video collection tools define completed as you reach the end of the video. Here we are defining completed as you have watched the entire video. So we're doing that by tracking the played segments attribute of the xAPI statement. So what time code people have watched.
Yeah. So I've saved the link of the prototype that we are creating. This link might change once Jason changes the repository to ADL repository. But if anyone wants to try it out, you can just clone this repository and just load the page. If you want to change the LRS, you can change it in the config file, or you can launch it using any LMS or whatever that generates the URL string. So once the URL string is there, the video will get the actor as well as the LRS information from the string. So right now I'm using the string that sends the statements to our local grassplate LRS, and we are generating and testing the statements here right now. So we have almost completed the basic functionality of vocabulary of video profile. Some minor stuff are remaining, which we should be able to complete very soon. Now coming back to the issues that is remaining, I think this interacted full screen showing video playback. So should I close this? Is there anything remaining on this one? I've added the quality extension. There was some issue with the size being reported in the full screen as well as in the interacted statements, other interacted statements. So I have made those changes and this is done. So I'll close this one.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we have two remaining issues on this one. One is volume change and one is the plate segment. So I'll complete this plate segments is actually done. I have to send the completed statement based on the entire video being watched. So I'll take care of that, and then volume change. I'll see if I can handle, or if anyone else is interested, you can check on how to use the touch events. If that doesn't work, we will have to use the other suggestion, I guess.
Jason, were you saying that you had tested some of this stuff on mobile already?
Sorry, I was on mute there.
Okay.
Last time I did some testing on mobile, it worked fine. The main issue I had, and how I discovered or why I was looking into the on touch event, is because it was I don't believe it was happening on mobile device. You know how all those statements are being sent when you change the volume.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was working. I mean, all the other parts of it were tracking fine, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So when I tested on mobile, what was happening is when we use the slider on the player that is in HTML5, it works as if it is in HTML5. But when we do full screen, it goes to full screen, and the player is the native player of the mobile device. So if you are on iOS, it will be the native iOS player. If you are on Android, it will be the native Android player. And when you are on that player and if you just touch to another point in volume, it'll change once, but if you slide, it'll send dozens of statements. So another thing that we were discussing was the length of video. So I think we have an agreement that we can call it length. I would not want to call it video because a lot of people might use it for audio as well. So length should be pretty clear. Yes, no, maybe.
Length sounds fine. Yeah, let's go with length. Or video length, either one.
Yeah. So for those who have not been tracking this issue, this is about the length of the video. So if it is a 2-minute video, it should be like 120 seconds or 2 minutes. So I would say 120 seconds for 120 seconds, and that length of the video, that information is currently not being sent. So we need to add this extra extension to be able to track that information in the LRS, because otherwise we don't know the length of the video.
And is
So
that the known recorded length? Like this video is 3 minutes and 26, or is it? It's not the amount of time that was calculated based on what they watched. It's not the duration, right?
Right. So this is the actual length of the video.
It's the known time
Yeah.
length of the video. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the actual time that the student spends in the video? For example, if he rewound it and rewatched, is there another section for that?
So currently there's nothing for the time the student watched, but there is a played segment which can be added up to calculate that information. So in this one, if you see, based on this heat map, this played segment, this heat map is generated, and adding these values, the time spent information is calculated. So it says 19
Oh, I
seconds.
see.
It is based on this played segments. So you can just split this string and then add the differences to generate this time spent.
Oh, that's great.
And this 40% is also generated based on this played segments. So currently this LRS, what it is doing is it doesn't know the length of the video. So what it is doing is, based on the played segments and based on the progress, it is calculating the length of the video, and then it is calculating what parts of the video is watched, and then calculating the percentage of completion. So it is doing a little extra work to calculate this 40%.
And if the video is over 100%, say 150%, then that would probably tell me that there's some trouble understanding that video, for example. That would be a good flag for me to alert me that there's content in there that needs to be maybe clarified, if students aren't able to understand it immediately the first time through it.
Yeah, exactly. So if
I don't think, Pankaj, you haven't started overlapping views, right?
I have. So
individual. Oh, you have. Okay.
I've got that also.
The original idea sort of came from another image we saw from a different provider from Broadleaf Video, which I just linked the image of their heat map in there. So we wanted to make
Patrick who brought that up.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Patrick.
Yeah, so Patrick brought that idea up, and this is his contribution. So you can see there is overlap in this one. So there is multiple overlap. So when there is multiple overlap, it is darker. So it gets darker and darker based on the number of times that part of the video is being overlapped. So you can clearly identify what part of the video was watched multiple times, and you can definitely see what was not watched.
Yeah, so part of that would be identifying if maybe there's a communication issue or something with a specific part of it, but also if you have video content that people aren't watching and still doing well on assessments, then you could also look at whether or not you need that video content, or if they're getting that information from somewhere else.
Sure, the correlation there would be, a negative correlation, I guess. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and in this one, you can easily see that the video length is about 46.6 seconds, and the time spent is 52 seconds. So the user has spent more time than the length of the video, but he has not watched entire video. He has watched only 85% of the video.
I wonder how that's going to work. I wonder how that's going to look in practice, like if what parts are you going to find that people are skipping?
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to find out,
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this one, it is calculating for this played segment only. We could even sum up all the played segments from all the users and generate one combined heat map. That is possible thing we can do to sum up the performance on the entire video and see what parts of the video is left off.
Cool.
So that
Yeah,
could be a
looks great.
possible useful report.
It looks very good.
Hey, Jason, I have another question for you. Have there has there been any discussion up to this point yet about mixing profiles? So if you have like a, for example, like like a CMI5 assessment profile with the ARV profile for assessments, multiple choice quizzes, or something embedded in a video. Has there been any discussion about what that process might look like? Or
I mean, you can do it. You can mix profiles together. Now, I don't know where collisions might happen, what to do. I mean, that is one of the. I think that is one of the topics we're looking at with the IEEE tag group.
the implementation?
Yeah, at least we'll discuss it some.
Yeah. Okay.
Or the standardization group, I believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess at this point it's just about getting the tool out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sent a
Is
message to Anthony too, and we'll copy you guys.
okay, that's great. Is anyone going to the DevLearn and presenting something?
I have it tentatively on my agenda. I'm not sure to make it or not.
You mean DevLearn, or which one are you talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
DevLearn.
DevLearn. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not going to make it.
I don't tend to
Yeah.
make the more profit sector ones, so I'll be at LAC, but I won't make it to DevLearn.
I applied to speak at DevLearn, but I wasn't accepted. So I'll try again next year.
Okay.
I hear it's glitzy. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So I think we are very close, and we can start getting the word out, and it'll be very good to start people using the prototype and using the profile, and we start getting feedback on how it is working. So, and DevLearn might be an opportunity where if someone is going there and they can talk about it, it would be great.
I want to say I think Yet Analytics is going, as well as what's her name? A couple other people. Torrance Learning, I think they'll probably be there as well. But I don't know what they're speaking about.
Yeah. So, anything else before we leave?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Pankaj, for making some progress over the past month or two. I know I haven't had a chance to get into it, and really do appreciate that. And would like to help promote this with you guys.
Yep, that'll be great.
Thanks for leading. I'll try not to lose too much focus on this while we're doing the IEEE stuff. But yeah, I'm still hoping we can get this embedded in a bunch of our online courses for the next semester or two. So we'll do the best I can to make that happen.
Awesome.
That'll be great. So thanks, everyone. We'll try to make more progress, and we should try to add things like YouTube and Vimeo and other players as well to this. So thanks everyone, and we'll try to make more progress, and we'll try to bring this in front of everyone so that it starts getting used. And thanks for everyone's contribution and participating in these meetings. See you next month.
Sounds
Bye.
good.
Thank you. Very, very productive.